Hello, ladies and gentle bobs. Every day, thousands of people in the West grow up, develop a mind of their own, and turn away from the childish, infantile ideologies of liberalism.
Oh, Claudia!
Well, maybe not that guy, but a lot of people. Let's hear from some.
Tell my audience and they can rally the information.
Oh, I used to be a dirty, dirty liberal. Like the ones that were like the liberal that was annoying. And Stephen, I also talk with my hands a lot.
It's true.
I used to not only be a dirty, dirty liberal, but I was also one of those annoying fembot feminists, like the type who would have gotten mad about the Bud Light St. Patrick's Day tweet today.
Really?
But yeah, I used to be, I mean, maybe not that bad. I mean, I didn't go into a rage spiral every time a man held a door open for me, but
I would have hated you.
Oh my God, I hate me in the past. Like if there was a time machine, I would love to go back in time and kick my own ass. It would be amazing. And this one would totally win. But no, and the more educated I became and the more that I grew up and matured, that's when I started very slowly converting. And being a mom was a huge part of it.
Well done, Dana, and welcome to the side of reason and logic. Now let's listen to some more people who pulled their heads out of their asses and realized that life is no bunny rabbits and rainbows.
I saw the play it's based on. I assumed it was written by another of Hollywood's anti-business lefties. Assumed that until a few years ago when the playwright wrote an article that the Village Voice titled, "Why I'm No Longer a Brain-Dead Liberal." That was David Mamet. He's also the author of American Buffalo, The Spanish Prisoner, more than 50 other plays and movies. He's lived and worked in the middle of that brain-dead liberal Hollywood culture for 40 years. Now, I realize you didn't title that article Brain-Dead Liberal, but it's accurate. You say you were one?
I say I referred to myself as one, that I found that in referring to myself to others, I would say dismissively or diffidently, I, as a brain-dead liberal, of course, ha, ha, ha. And the truth was that I subconsciously realized that the political decisions I made were foolish.
Foolish because you weren't thinking about it and everybody around you was liberal and you just went along?
Yep.
But you're this brilliant guy doing all this original stuff in theater, but...
Well, you know, we all say, how did that smart girl marry that idiot? You know, it happens.
What changed you?
Well, what changed me is I met a couple of conservatives, and I realized I'd never met any conservatives in my life. And then I met a fellow who was a very nice fellow, who was a neighbor, and when I moved to Los Angeles, and I said, oh, you know, which of the Democrats are you voting for? And he said, well, I'm not voting for any of the Democrats. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, please forgive me for... And he started to laugh. He said, no, it's not a crime, it's called the political system. And I admired the man, and I started giving him books about liberalism because I thought such a nice guy on the road to ruin, on the road to perdition. And so he started sending me books, and his books made sense to me, and they made more sense than my books.
So, Eureka, it was suddenly people were thinking an entirely different way that you hadn't been exposed to before.
That's right.
Hello and welcome to Common Sense TV. I'm your host, America's anchor man, E.T. Williams. You must excuse my scratchy voice. You know, I too once was a liberal. But you know, I got tired of my head being stuck up my own ass. And I came to the conclusion that liberals really are stupid. Most of their arguments is based on emotions, how it makes you feel. It has nothing to do with logic. You know, I try to see things from liberals' standpoint, but personally I can't get my head that far up my ass in order to see things like liberals see things. You know, the more I try to understand liberals, the more I realize how most of their arguments is based on emotion. How you gonna tell me how I feel? It's emotions. You can't tell me that this government is not supposed to take care of me. Yeah, I thought like that too. As stupid as that sound. And I said to myself, my parents never took handouts. My grandparents never took handouts. They were never depending on the government to take care of them. So why are these dumb liberals making this argument? Yes, I too was a dumb liberal, because most of my argument was based on emotion.
So you suddenly wake up, you write a book about it now called The Secret Knowledge.
Yeah.
And Hayek, it wasn't in The Road to Serfdom, in one of his other books, explains the secret knowledge, but I'll let you do that.
Well, the idea was that what Hayek is talking about is that we have to have a constrained vision of the universe, the unconstrained vision. The liberal vision is that everything can be done. Everything is accomplished.
Can be planned.
Well, that can be accomplished. We can cure polio, cure AIDS, cure poverty, cure all disease, cure unemployment. We have that power. And he says it's just not true. He says we don't have the knowledge. He says you have to have a constrained vision. There's only so much that government can do. Unfortunate but true. Would it be nice if giving all of our money to the government could cure poverty? Maybe, but giving money to the government causes slavery, as we see in every state in which it's been brought about.
I definitely don't call myself a liberal. I've undergone major changes in the course of my life, and the word liberal is just too toxic now. I think the word conservative, honestly, is also quite toxic, associated with a lot of nonsense and a lot of anti-scientific kind of thinking in general, right? And again, that's not everybody, but just as not every person who calls himself liberal is a whack job. But the words are just there's no reason to associate yourself with them. It's just like some reasonable people call themselves feminist. But why would he do that? If you're a reasonable person, you want to stay away from these kind of toxic buzzwords, right? Or these toxic groups.
Right on. Now let's take a look at that word. Liberal.
Hi there, this is a video about an upside down word. Why would someone turn a word upside down? Who did it? When did they do it? What could possibly prompt somebody to do such a thing?
So the other thing we want to talk about, of course, is that you and I have been trying to make the case, I have anyway, that liberals need to stand up for liberal principles. This is what I said on last week's show. Obviously, I got a lot of hate for it, but all I'm saying is that liberal principles like freedom of speech, freedom to practice any religion you want without fear of violence, freedom to leave a religion, equality for women, equality for minorities, including homosexuals. These are liberal principles that liberals applaud for, but then when you say in the Muslim world this is what's lacking, then they get upset.
Now, to the bigger point, namely, you people over at Being Liberal and all the rest of you who call yourself liberals are not liberals. This isn't liberalism. This isn't even leftism. It's infantilism. It's the philosophy of children, because that's what you are. I know you feel very brave holding up that sign, speaking truth to power. You have no right to feel brave, because the risk of anything happening to you with that sign here in America is. Now, on the other hand, you see this guy? That is an individual risking his life to fight the armies of socialism. He's a hero, and you're not. That took courage. What you're doing doesn't take any courage at all. Like everyone else on the left, you want something, in this case, moral superiority, but you don't want to pay for it, so you just take it. See how easy it is? You people who call yourself liberals are not liberals. None of you are. You know who is a liberal? This guy. He's a liberal. We're going to use the image of this dead white male to represent the other dead white males who were, in fact, actual liberals. They were called liberals because they believed in liberty, which meant and still means simply the freedom to be left alone. The man on the right wanted people to be left alone. He believed in private property, strict limits on the power of government, freedom of speech, private ownership of weapons, and was the founder of the Democratic Party. The woman on the left wants the government to take care of her health care, birth control, housing, food, and transportation. She's a collectivist who hates private property, wants to expand the government into every aspect, not just her life, but yours as well. Believes in speech codes and political correctness, wants guns taken away from honest American citizens, and is the inheritor of the Democratic Party. The man on the right spent a lifetime of study, debate, and reflection trying to determine the nature of man, his history of rare success and frequent failures, and with his fellows spent a lifetime trying to devise a realistic formula for the pursuit of happiness. the woman on the left likely doesn't know who the man on the right is.
I'm Alfonso Rachel with Zone Nation, where we get called animals by people who act like animals. We get called racist by people obsessed with race, sexist by people who objectify women, homophobes by people who use homoerotic insults, and fascists by people who want to give more power to the state to make us think like them. But we gotta deal with them, y'all, even though dealing with the backward liberal mentality is often like trying to look straight into the mirror to see the back of your own head.
Ha 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 ha. Now, let's give the last word to one of my heroes, Thomas Sowell. Take it away, buddy.
You've written a trilogy of books about people you call the anointed, which are basically liberals in American society. What do you mean by calling them anointed or self-anointed?
That's right. There are people who seriously believe that they are wiser and nobler than others, and the way to improve society is to have the government force people to follow what the anointed want, rather than let people do what they themselves want to do. And there are all kinds of fiascos that follow in the wake of this kind of notion. They're for helping people who are disadvantaged, as they put it. Whereas I think conservatives want to stop people from being disadvantaged. In other words, the liberals want to help the poor while they're poor, but really the biggest benefit is to stop them from being poor. And that they have very little interest in.
What is the liberal premise?
I guess the Rousseau notion, that man is born free but is everywhere in chains, that the real problem with the world is that the institutions are wrong. If the institutions were right, then there was nothing in human nature that would cause us to be unhappy. It's the fact that we have the wrong institutions.
What is the conservative premise?
That man is flawed from day one, and that there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs, and whatever you do to deal with one of man's flaws, it creates another problem, but that you try to get the best trade-off you can get, and that's all you can hope for. I've often said there are three questions that I think would destroy most of the arguments on the left, and the first is, compared to what? The second is, at what cost? And the third is, what hard evidence do you have? Now, there are very few ideas on the left that can pass all three of those kinds of things.
Can conservative ideas pass those?
Yes, I think so, because they don't assume that there is a solution out there. Adam Smith didn't believe that either the government or the market could solve all problems, that you have to be able to simply tolerate certain things. And the idea to the left of tolerating any evil, that they want to stamp out the last vestige of segregation. Really? At what price?
Well, that's it, ladies and gentlebobs. Thank you for watching. If there's any lesson to be learned here, it's not to be a libtard your whole life. Catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.